Hey everybody, just a quick notice before we start. Towards the end of the video, I'll be experimenting with a poll where you can give your answer for a certain question about this video. For you who answer, I'll tell how many people get it right in the next episode of Enemy Archives. Don't forget to look out for the poll! Throughout the Zelda series, the land of Hyrule has held many aggressive monsters. Some of these monsters are hulking beasts, like Moblins, which I've previously covered in this series. Other enemies are weaker opponents, such as the lowly Bokoblin. Bokoblins are monsters who are loyal to Ganon, like many other enemies. They are very common monsters in the games they show up in, but they have only appeared in 4 main series entries to date. They often wield simple weapons, like Boko sticks or machetes, but the Bokoblins themselves have changed significantly over the years. Let's take a look at each big Bokoblin appearance in the series. After that, we'll get a glimpse of some of the stranger Bokoblin offshoots. So, without further ado, I present Enemy Archives Bokoblins. Wind Waker. Bokoblins made their debut in the world of Wind Waker. They are first seen on Link's home island, Outset Island, in the Forest of Fairies. There are 3 levels of Bokoblin in this game: Pink, Blue, and Green. Pink Bokoblins are the weakest, and probably the laziest too. They usually guard outposts on the ocean, either from a raft or on a tower. These slackers wield a Boko stick, a machete, or a spyglass, and fall asleep after a few minutes of work. Blue Bokoblins are less common, but are tougher than pink Bokoblins. Blue Bokoblins almost always have a weapon, whether it be a Boko stick or a machete. Green Bokoblins are the toughest of the bunch, usually wielding a machete and a shield. One of these monsters guards Link's sword when it falls on the Forsaken Fortress. Wind Waker's Bokoblins are smarter than their Moblins, as demonstrated by their operation of the fortress searchlights. However, they obviously aren't too intelligent, since they haven't even bothered to learn how to swim in a world covered by water. All Bokoblins hold joy pendants, an item that someone on Windfall Island might be interested in. Twilight Princess. Not long after appearing in Wind Waker, Bokoblins returned for Twilight Princess. However, these Bokoblins look drastically different, taking a more imp-like form rather than a pig-like one. Both blue and purple Bokoblins are found all across Hyrule, with the blue creatures being more common in the Faerun area, and purple Bokoblins populating Hyrule Field. Blue Bokoblins are weak enemies who carry sticks to attack Link with. Purple Bokoblins, on the other hand, can take many more hits before dying, and wield swords, which naturally hurt more than sticks. These Bokoblins are pretty unintelligent overall, but they seem to be capable of speaking to each other, as seen when exploring Faerun Woods for the first time. Skyward Sword. Since Skyward Sword takes place earliest in the Zelda timeline, Bokoblins in this era are much more primitive. Despite their primitive nature, they have a sort of hierarchy built from regular Bokoblins and Bokoblin leaders. These Bokoblins come in many varieties, each a bit different than the rest. First, there are Red Bokoblins. Red Bokoblins are the weakest and the first that Link encounters. They occupy 3 positions: Regular, Archer, and Leader. Regular Bokoblins usually wield a kind of sword, and can block Link's attacks. Archer Bokoblins fire arrows at Link from a distance. Leader Bokoblins are like regular Bokoblins, but they carry a horn which they use to summon reinforcements. Leaders are also slightly tougher than regular Bokoblins. Now, let's move on to Green Bokoblins. Green Bokoblins can either be regular or Archer Bokoblins, and they occupy dungeons and caves. They both take more hits to defeat than their red Bokoblin counterparts. Supposedly, their unpleasant green color comes from the fact that they don't get a lot of sunlight. Finally, there are blue Bokoblins, which have neither an archer nor a leader variety. Instead, these blue beasts are much more competent fighters, and they take more damage to defeat. They even have a kind of jump attack, which none of the other Bokoblins can perform. While that's already a lot of Bokoblin divisions, there are a few other Bokoblin types that show up in Skyward Sword, but we'll see them in a few minutes. Breath of the Wild. In Breath of the Wild, Bokoblins were one of the 2 enemies to get their own special amiibo, the other being the Guardian Stalker. Needless to say, Bokoblins held a very special place in this game. Like many other enemies, Bokoblins come in 6 different levels: Stalkoblins, red, blue, black, silver, and in Master Mode, golden Bokoblins. Stalkoblins are different from the rest in several ways. They can be defeated by a single blow to the head, but until the head is destroyed, the remaining body will aimlessly attack in Link's direction. The other varieties of Bokoblin act basically the same, but starting with red and ending with golden, each level is tougher and stronger than the last. Bokoblins usually wield weapons of the Boko variety, such as Boko clubs or Boko sticks. However, if they lack a weapon, they can attack barehanded, or if they are at range, they can throw objects like barrels and rocks. Bokoblins can set up camp in various places, like skull-shaped rocks, and near these camps, a Bokoblin may be perched atop a small watchtower. If this guard spots Link, he will alert his allies, who will then come out to help him. However, Link can sneak past these guards, and he can also dispatch them from a distance. While Bokoblins in Breath of the Wild are usually fighting Link, they also engage in their own activities. For instance, some Bokoblins hunt in the woods, shooting arrows at wild animals. Others ride horses, and will chase down Link from a long distance if they spot him. They even seem to tell stories around campfires, and will fall asleep when the night falls. Some say there are even Stalkoblins in the Hebra region, who ride horses with a similar complexion to theirs. While Bokoblins only appear in 4 different games, there are a couple offshoots from regular Bokoblins. Let's have a look at some of the more bizarre Bokoblins that show up throughout the series. First off, there are Technoblins, a technologically advanced group of Bokoblins from Skyward Sword. Contrary to what may seem logical, these electric opponents actually come from the distant past, only seen in areas with time shift stones. Technoblins wield electric weapons, which when struck will electrocute Link. They are a nuisance, but they fight like regular Bokoblins in most other ways. The next kind of Bokoblin, the Cursed Bokoblin, actually appears in 2 different games, but they're pretty different from each other in each game. The Cursed Bokoblin is first found in Skyward Sword, in the Ancient Cistern, a dungeon near Lake Floria. These Bokoblins can only be described as zombie-like monsters, held together by some evil force. They aren't the best fighters, but they can take a serious beating before being stopped for good. Finally, on the opposite end of the Zelda timeline, we have Breath of the Wild, where cursed Bokoblins return in a very different shape. These monsters are simply floating Bokoblin skulls whose lives were prolonged by malice, a dark substance infesting Hyrule. They float violently at Link, trying to bite him when they get near, but they are very easy to defeat. And that's about it for the monster known as the Bokoblin. If you enjoyed the video, please like, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can click over here if you want to see more of my Enemy Archives series, or over there for a Let's Play series of the Minish Cap. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again when you're in the Legend Zone.